Hey, everybody. We are live. Actually, it says live with Shep, but we're really live with James Dodkins, Rockstar from the UK. Give us a little of the British accent, James.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
There you go. Hello, everybody. How are you?
Perfect.
You see, I could do that. I know it doesn't sound as good as you. Yours is so el natural. But hey, we got Buddy Rice in the house. Buddy's here. And looking forward to today's insights. And we're going to have some for today. We've got James, and we're also in a few minutes going to have Ramon Ray, my friend who's been on the last few weeks, who's actually working with me to produce a great event on September. I want to make sure I get the right date. September the 15th. Oh, my gosh. How can I forget the date? It's next week. Believe it or not. And we're going to be doing this September 15th, 1 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you're in other parts of the world, as I know we'll have people coming on in just a few moments, you can figure out what your time zone is. You go to customeramazementsummit.com. You register for free. And what do you get for free? Hello, Andy. You get an incredible amount of information. You get to listen to our speakers and our interviews live, as well as we're going to keep them up for at least 24 hours. And then at that point, well, we'll figure out what we're going to do. Ramon's going to tell us more about that. Hey, Carmen from Southern California, thanks for joining us and watching from SoCal. Where's SoCal? That's a big place. LA, San Diego, somewhere in between. You can type it in and we'll figure it out. But James, hey, Andy. So what we're going to do today is we aren't going to talk about what we are talking about next week. We're going to talk about everything else.
Okay.
Everything. So, yeah. And hey, Carmen, from Hemet Riverside. So I'm not exactly sure where that is. I know where Riverside is. Riverside's just outside of LA. So that's cool. That's cool. Well, welcome. And we have people coming in. I do. Hi, all. Great being here. Antonia, good to see you. And Abdu, where are you? Oh, you're from the UAE. I love it over there. I was just communicating with my client, which is First Abu Dhabi Bank over in, of all places, Abu Dhabi. But believe it or not, they have branches in Dubai, in Egypt, in Europe. They even have one in Washington, D.C. So, well, let's jump into this. We've got enough people here, and we're a couple minutes past the hour, or 1 minute or so. We got 2 minutes now past the hour, and I think it's, hey, Ryan Casey is in the house. Let me tell you who. Look at that look. Ryan looks like a tough guy, and you know what? He is. He's my buddy. We play hockey together every week, and lately I've been going up against him, which is never any fun. He's younger. He's better. He's far more talented. All right, James, let's get into this. We got Brian Dennis coming in. You're a rock star. You are a true rock star. Quick little background on yourself. You were in a heavy metal band. Toured the world.
Yeah, so I used to play guitar in a heavy metal band, toured the world, released albums, had a video on TV, was in magazines quite regularly. And I did that from quite a young age. So to put it into perspective, I released my first album at 17. So I was 17 years old when my band released our first album, and I could go into the record. Proudest day of my life, as long as my wife and child aren't watching this. Proudest day of my life, walking into this record store in the UK. If anyone's watching from the UK, you'll know HMV when it used to exist. And I walked in and I went to the rock section and I looked. And I got our album and I went and bought it. Afterwards, I felt stupid because I had loads of copies myself, but it was just the process of buying it in the store. And I remember it, actually. I've not told anyone about this before. So I went up to the cashier, put the CD down, put it down. Looks at me. That'll be $12.99. I'm like, yeah. See on the back. Have you heard this one yet? Oh, no. I've heard it's pretty good. Yeah, really? Who is it? Funny you should say. That's my band. And he was like, really? I was like, yeah. He was like, okay, it's still $12.99. So I bought it and left. And that was the proudest moment.
They had a sale that week.
Yes.
Yeah, they sold an album.
But dude, this was like what, like 15 years ago. I can't
All right.
remember,
So
15
you're in
years
your
ago.
early 30s. You look good for a rock star. You don't look all beat up, withered. Look at the Rolling Stones, but they've been doing it for about 60 years. So
I stayed away from the drugs.
We have people from Belarus, from South Africa, from Milwaukee, from the Caribbean, from India. All right. So, everybody, I got to tell you, James, you and I, where did we first meet? Was it in Vegas or was it over in France? I think I'm trying to remember, but you and I worked together a number of events. I see you do. So what
was it in Mexico? Was Mexico
Mexico? You're right. It was Mexico. Wait, we've been all over the world together. Okay. So we did it. And I saw you do your program. And here's what I want to talk about today. Those 5 points you made in your program are not the points we're going to be talking about in the Customer Amazement Summit. So let's give these people who are tuning in today some meat, so to speak, and give us 5 CX Rockstar ideas. Let's start with number 1.
So number 1, when you say it's changed now, number 1 is changed now, but I'll talk about the old one. If you want to hear the new one, you'll have to catch me live somewhere when events happen again, if they ever happen again. The old one was about first impressions. So some of you guys may have seen videos. The way I start my talks is I come out playing guitar, okay, which is a little bit different. And I'm like, what? Why would I do that? And the whole point of it is about nailing the intro, about first impressions, realizing that in customer experience, a lot of people think that there is only one chance at a good first impression. And what I talk about is the first impressions you give to your customers, most of the time, don't actually come from your first interaction with your customer. First impressions in customer experience can come from a blog or a vlog or a review online or from what their friend has told them. So basically, most of your customers, your potential customers' first impressions come from what someone else has said or written. And you need to start to realize that one customer's bad experience can quickly become thousands of potential customers' bad first impression. So I'll talk about that. That's number 1.
That's a really good one. First impression. By the way, Apple, my iPhone.
Yes.
I know it's part of the customer experience. It may not have been the first impression, but when I received the iPhone in the mail and I opened up the package, that was my first experience of my new iPhone. Packaging is part of that whole process, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and it's a really good point, because one of the things I try and draw out in this section of the talk is that, yes, we kind of think that, okay, if a bad first impression has been made, there's no coming back from it. And that's not always actually true, because I like to think of relationships with customers and the experiences that we deliver to them kind of the same as an album. So if you think of an album of a band or an artist that you particularly like, yes, there is an overall first impression with the intro to the very first song, but every new song has got an intro. Every new song has got a new chance at a first impression. So every new experience you deliver, every new part of the experience can have that first impression, just like with the packaging, just like with the product. If you take the interactions with the product as part of the experience, that in and of itself has got its own first impression. And Apple nail that. Just the when you take the, you know what I mean?
When you pull out it's amazing. And so basically what you're saying, to summarize this, then we're going to point 2, then I want to bring my friend Ramon on. But point is that the first impression is not necessarily the first time a customer interacts with you. It's the first part of that particular interaction that sets the tone for what's to follow.
It's kind of both. So the overall overarching first impression is going to be the very first time they ever get exposure to your company, whether that be from something they've read online, whether it be something they get told from a friend. However, every new section of that relationship with that company has its own first impression. It is a new chance to get it right.
It sets the tone. All right, give us number 2. And oh, by the way, we just had a great one. The first impression must not be physical. It could be online. So it can be really anywhere. So very good. Number 2. Let's do number 2.
Number 2 is about creating super fans.
Yeah, we love super fans.
So you know what? I won't go into the meat of it, but I'll go to the end part. I'll cut straight to the end part of the second bit, where I talk about one of the easiest ways to create superfans is by focusing on your employees. Oh, that sounds weird. Why would you do that? And I honestly believe that if you want to put your customers first, you need to put your employees first. And if you can turn your employees into fans of your customers, they will turn your customers into fans of the company.
Boom.
So it's talking about
this is one for you to put in there. If you can turn your employees into fans of your company, they can turn your customers into fans of your company. Did I say that right? Almost right.
Almost. Well, the way I say it is if you can turn your employees into fans of your customers. However, that works pretty well, if not actually better. So we'll take your one instead.
Yep. Turn your employees into fans. They'll inspire your customers too. Thank you, Ramon. And speaking of Ramon, let's bring Ramon into the stream here. Look at that guy. You are surrounded by two beautiful bald men.
What's up, James? How are you, man? Thanks for being here.
I'm doing good, mate. How are you?
You know,
everybody watching who doesn't know Ramon Ray, Ramon is a rock star in his own world. He is an entrepreneurial expert, works with a lot of small, medium-sized businesses, has an incredible client list, and he is actually who we're partnering with on the Customer Amazement Summit. And yay. All right, cool. So you guys have never met before, have you?
Not in. I was just about to say, not in real life like this, but not face to face like this. No.
James, your fame precedes you. Shep thinks when we were talking in private behind your back about you, Shep speaks very highly of you. So I'm glad to have you here with us. And everybody watching, my name is Ramon Ray, as Shep said, and glad to have you all here. Customer Amazement Summit, September 15th. But continue, Shep, down the line of questioning you were at. But I'm glad to join the discussion.
I think it's great. Stay on. Don't go away. But yeah, Customer Amazement Summit, September 15th, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. For the folks over in India and Abu Dhabi and Kenya, you're going to have to figure out the time zones, and we are going to leave the actual live presentation up. It becomes recorded on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and we're going to leave those up for 24 hours, right?
That's right. And you know what? Listen, Shep, if your people from like overseas, or I should say outside the U.S., are like beating down your door, no, Shep, leave it up for 3 days. We must have it for 5 days. And people are marching outside your home. We may just have to do that, Shep. You know what I mean?
Just have to. You know why? That's the way we roll. We're all about taking care of customers.
That's right.
So yeah, we'll be happy to do that. And by the way, it is free. And if you understand how this whole live stream thing works, we're going to make it public. You don't have to register, but that would be a mistake. Why would that be a mistake? Tell about the mistake, Ramon.
Yeah, listen, when you register, first of all, you get some gems from Shep. Gems from Shep. That doesn't quite rhyme, but you get gems from Shep. 2, we may have other material and goodies we want to send you after. So you're not going to be spammed. We're not going to hit you up over and over again because Shep would never do that. He's all about customer service. But seriously, if you register, you get really into that community more. Hold that up, Shep. Go ahead, man.
This is the black and white version of the Customer Amazement survey that we did earlier this year. We asked over 1,000 consumers, and we put it into a beautiful report that when you register, you get this, you download it. It's free, PDF, printed out. Lots of good information that I think will help if you want to sit down with your team and talk about customer experience. Some of our keynoters, and we say keynoters, are actually going to be interviews that we have with all of these experts, not just people like James, but we also have people like James knows Becky Plager.
That's right.
I do.
Yeah. James knows Becky. Becky is a rock star. She is the head of guest relations services, the head of the whole darn support center for Hilton worldwide. That is a huge responsibility. She's in the trenches, as we call it. And we're going to be providing, some of these folks are going to have leave behinds, handouts, articles, and we're going to make sure everybody gets copies of those. So customeramazementsummit.com. Just go there, register, and we can't wait to see you. All right, James, I know what the next question Ramon wants to ask you. It's what's number 3? Is that right, Ramon?
You know, I was Shep, I was just going to ask you that, so let me ask it, Shep, instead of you. James, what's point number 3?
So number 3 is about making it clear. Now, unfortunately for you guys watching now, I can't demonstrate the amazing demonstration that I demonstrate when I demonstrate this in real life.
Do you demonstrate it?
So what I do is I talk about how customers.
I want to make sure you said making it real.
No, making it clear.
Making it clear. Obviously, I didn't hear that clearly. CLEAR, clear.
Yes.
All right.
Obviously, I've failed at one of my own points.
It's the British accent. I'm not used to such clarity.
I think this is too much customer amazement. Both people are apologizing. What is the third point, James? Everybody's emailing Shep,
clear,
LinkedIning him and saying, Shep, tell us the third point. James, what is it?
Of course, just before, Shep, we did invent the language, I'm just saying. So point number 3 is make it clear. The customers misunderstand things a lot, don't they? Stupid customers.
Every once in a while.
But why is that? You think about it. We make the products and services, and if we're not directly involved in making it, we get training on the products and services. And if customers read the small print, they'll understand it too, but they don't always. And it's kind of like this when it comes to music and lyrics. So I constantly mishear what singers are singing. I mishear the lyrics. And if I read the lyrics, I wouldn't get it wrong, but I don't. So I do. My wife hates me for this. We'll be driving down the road and she'll be singing along to a song on the radio. And I'll go, hang on a second. What did you just sing? And she'll tell me. And I'll go, oh, I thought it was whatever. And I'll say what I think it was. It's brilliant for me because from that point forward, I'll never hear the song wrong again.
Especially because it's her version that is correct.
Yes.
Yes. You err to the side of the spouse or partner that you're with.
Well, it's because she must just have better ears than me. She gets it right. The thing is, after I've told her what I thought it was, from that point forward, she never hears the song right again. So I routinely ruin music for my wife. And in the talk, I give examples of songs that I've misheard.
Very, very funny one.
They are good. They are good. It's my favorite part of the talk.
I don't know if you can do it without hearing it, but there's some a song where everybody gets the lyrics wrong because they mishear it. It sounds like something. There's something with a pterodactyl beaver.
Yeah. See, that's I'm not going to ruin it for people.
Okay.
If you want to know what Shep is talking about with the pterodactyl beaver, then drop us a line on LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram, or drop us an email, and I will share with you this secret about the pterodactyl beaver. If you don't want to know, don't bother. I'm not going to tell you. But the point of it is, we as companies make things so complicated for customers, make things so difficult, and then we get surprised when they misunderstand things. The problem is, when I misunderstand the lyrics, when I realize I've been singing the words wrong for years, do I blame myself? No. I blame the artist. And it is just like when customers misunderstand something about your products and services. Do they blame themselves? No, they blame you.
If you don't mind, again, I don't want to overlap what we're going to talk about at Customer Amazement Summit, but just touch on something. Can you give us a very brief, because I know time is short, but a brief example of how that works in real life? I mean, is that a mattress company, coffee company, retail shop, online store, reading a product? How does that, or even make it up? Can you help us understand? I said it's 10% off. There's very little to misunderstand. I said free shipping. What possibly can go wrong? Explain.
Well, it's when it's free shipping when you spend over $3,000. It's 10% off.
Yeah, but I want to show you something. By the way, Dwayne has a question, but I've got to show you this. Hold me closer, Tony Danza. Or is it Tiny Dancer?
Thank you, LinkedIn user.
Yeah. LinkedIn user, and that would be Elton John's song. So is it Tony Danza? Is it Tiny Dancer? I think we know. But if you listen to it next time, you'll say, you know what? It sounds like Tony Danza.
See, I've got to get in with this one, because after the talks, people always come up to me and go, oh, James, here's a song that I've misheard all of these years. And they tell me, and I go, oh, that's it. And I write it down and I go, but I've heard so many of them now. It doesn't actually sound like that. I'm sorry to ruin it for you. Go and listen to the song. It doesn't sound like Tony Danza. It's funny to say, but it doesn't. It sounds like Tony Danza. Maybe it's the British accent. Maybe that's what it is. But it doesn't.
So all right. Dwayne Cofield has a question. Why is it small print?
Very philosophical.
Yeah.
Why is it small print? It's a good question. It's small print because they don't want you to read it. It's where they hide all the nasty things that they don't want you to know.
But James, let me push back on that 1 second, because I play piano a bit, but I'm not a musician like you and Shep are. But to go back to the previous question that came, I like what Dwayne's saying, is that if the song was more clear, and I don't know much about popular culture at all, but let's say it was Mary Had a Little Lamb. If they were really going, Mary had a little lamb, and the music was lower, we wouldn't enjoy it as much. It has to, Mary had a little lamb. So my point being, it sounds silly, but it isn't the purpose to say free shipping. That's what they really want to bring out, call out, to put on the billboard. There's not enough room. It's complicated. It's too much. Free shipping, but only if you do it after September 1st and you have a $300 order, happen to be using this credit card. That's too much, James. So is there any leeway on this? Because I think the question that the person asked is relevant.
Well, yeah, I guess so. It's a fair point. Yeah, but the thing is, the point of it is, even if you do the free shipping, blah, 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 because it's easier for you as a company, and the customer misunderstands, who do they blame?
Yeah.
Right.
It's still going to blame. It doesn't matter how right you think you are as a company. The customer is still going to blame you. The customer's still going to be annoyed at you. They're still going to tell their friends, don't go to XYZ company. They're going to rip you off. They're going to say it's 10%. And then that feeds back into, I don't know if you remember point number 1, first impressions. Now your neighbor's first impression of your company is that you rip people off. It all comes together. It all comes together.
And I want to mention Dan Gingiss, who we had on last week, who's also on our summit coming up. Dan talks about clever ways that companies have identified and get you to at least acknowledge the fine print. And by the way, fine print, when it's like, free shipping and the little disclaimer or little, whatever at the bottom, is different than the fine print that you probably should read, because when you realize you're selling your soul to whatever software company, I won't mention them, by being a part of their major platform that everybody in the world uses. It's like, we have the rights to do this. We have the rights to know your children. We have the rights to know your children's children, et cetera, et cetera. That's all in the fine. But he had really funny. He said, this is, read this, covering our butts, because that's all the legal. And it just, people have fun with it. I want to, my buddy Ryan has a good one here. Tell me what you think of this one. My wife thought the rusted root was, send me on my way. Send me on the whale.
The whale. I am going to write that one down because I haven't heard that one.
Thank you, Ryan. I love it.
I know you're dying to ask what number 4 is. Is that Ramon? Is it Ramon?
Shep, I don't know how you always know what I'm getting ready to say, but I love the genius you have. So I'm curious, James, what's point number 4?
Make it right.
Make it right.
Make it right.
Mm-hmm.
So this is all about fixing the experience in the experience. Don't wait for the complaint. So again, I'll skip over the really cool and interesting story that I tell in the talk and just get to the meat of it. Only 4% of dissatisfied customers are going to complain. The overwhelming majority of the rest are just going to vote with their feet. They'll just never use you again. If you are only fixing problems for that 4% that complain, you are missing a massive opportunity.
Yep.
That's what companies do. They wait. They wait for the complaint. They know something's gone wrong. They know. They've got mountains of data. They know. But they wait. Now, I show a little 4-step framework that people can use right away to start implementing this in their business, which I'll run you through right now if you would like to hear it.
Sure. You know what? Why not?
Let's go.
Do it. So it is
time for this. I think
I don't know, how long are we going for?
We're going up for about another 2.5 hours.
Sweet. Then
we usually go about 35, 40 minutes. So we've got, another 10 minutes or so. And by the way, we have a question. I want you to do your 4 points first, and then we're going to come to Marcella's question.
All right, sweet. So identify, where's my hand? Identify, monitor, communicate, compensate.
Identify,
monitor,
Monitor.
Communicate. Compensate.
All right. Break them down.
What they mean. So, identify the things in your experiences that can cause dissatisfaction.
Mm.
You probably already got this data. Then monitor the experience in the experience to notice when these things happen. When you've noticed that the thing has happened, communicate to the customer that you know something has gone wrong. Don't wait for them to tell you about it. Let them know that something has gone wrong and you're on it. Even if they haven't even noticed for themselves, you're getting ahead of it. You're being proactive.
That's powerful.
And then compensate. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a monetary compensation. Putting it right sometimes can be good enough. But some sort of gesture goes a massive way towards changing how a customer feels about a particular situation, but really only when they don't have to ask for it. If you proactively give it to them, you get in touch, you say, look, this thing has happened. You probably haven't even noticed yet. This is going to be the knock-on result. And as an apology to put it right, we're giving you this. Now, what I particularly like with that is when you give a voucher or a discount off of a future experience. Because remember, the overwhelming majority of that 96% are going to vote with their feet. They're never going to use you again. By giving them the discount off of the future, it all but guarantees that they will give you a second chance. They will give you that second chance at a first impression.
And
wow.
James,
we're back to number one.
And Shep, before we get to the Marcellus question, James, I just have a thought. It's just amazing, Shep and James, how the last two are so simple and the human thing, but how many companies don't? You've been in the local store, something goes wrong, you got the wrong milk or whatever it was, and it's like to ask for extra duck sauce, $4? Really? I've come here 50 times this year. Things like that. And that's not exactly what you said, James. It's so short-sighted. But this is the kind of information, as Marcel, and thank you, Karen, CustomerAmazementSummit.com, CustomerAmazementSummit.com, September 15th, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Shep, James, and a ton of others are going to be speaking. But Shep, back to you. I know we had a great question coming up.
Yeah, Marcella, let's bring it back up here. And by the way, I also noticed, Karan, just to emphasize what you just said proactive CX strategy instead of reactive.
Yes,
that's what we're talking about.
That's actually what I term that whole framework as. It's proactive experience recovery. So it's like service recovery, but about the overall experience and proactive and better. Yep. There you go. Proactive experience recovery. PXR.
All right. Marcella's getting a lot of back and forth on us here. Let's get her taken care of. I want to make sure she's happy. Look, she looks happy. Look at that picture.
I love the picture.
Of course she looks happy. Do you know
the picture, Shep? Read the question.
Question. What do you think about someone bringing up cost when you did not ask? Is it in poor taste? Isn't it sort of assuming that the customer can't afford it?
We're all quiet.
I mean, I know that in my life, and when we talk to our clients, we have clients that call us. And James, I'll ask you how you would handle it. Client calls us and says, we're interested in booking Shep to do a speech. What does he cost?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's easy. We give them the answer. But then they say, we're interested in Shep doing a speech. Is he available that day? And they start talking about everything. And then we go, well, we've got to let them know he costs something. I wonder if they can afford it, if it's in their budget. So we just say, hey, before we go, we talk a little bit, make sure there's kind of a good fit. Before we get into this any further, can we talk about budget for a moment? I mean, but James, let's answer Marcella's question. How would you deal with that?
Well, I mean, with what you just brought up there, it's a difficult question to answer, really, with so many different types of customers, so many different types of scenarios. But putting it into the context that you brought up, for me, if somebody calls up and says, hey, we want to talk to you about a talk, how much do you cost? For me, I want to delay telling them that.
I agree.
Yep.
So the verbiage is, I'm so glad you asked, because that's the best part. It's so good. I'm going to leave it till the end. But let me tell you what you're going to get.
Encore.
Yeah. No, but that's the point. You want to. So, Shep, if I said to you, I've got a pair of shoes that I would like you to buy, they're going to cost £50,000, which is about $65,000 at the moment. $65,000 for a pair of shoes. Would you like to buy them? You're going to go, no, James, I don't want to do that. But then if I tell you a little bit more about them, if these were the shoes that Elvis died in, you'd be a little bit more like, oh, actually, maybe I would want to buy them. So never lead with the price. Always keep that price to the end, because you need to let people know what the value is. Now, what was the other thing you said about?
But here's a great point. I went to buy a new car, and I happened to have. By the way, I remember this. Driving into the dealership. I have two cars. I had my nice car, and I had my old beat up Jeep that was just beat to heck because that's the car I drive in bad weather.
My beat up Jeep is my nice car. I don't know what that's.
This is Shep, James. This is Shep.
Yeah.
So, this is Shep.
Anyway, the point is, when I drove in the Jeep, I could see all of the salespeople looking for a customer, and I'm walking in. They look at my car, they look at me, and nobody wanted to talk to me. Okay? And so when I started looking, it reminds me of Pretty Woman. Do you remember this scene, Pretty Woman, with Julia
Roberts?
Julia Roberts. She's, she plays a prostitute, and she becomes basically in a relationship with Richard Gere. And Richard Gere says, go out and buy some nice clothes. They're in Beverly Hills. She sends her on a Rodeo Drive, and nobody wants to talk to this woman because they assume she can't afford it.
That's right.
Okay. And she's in these fancy stores. And I love the next day when she finally goes back with the manager of the hotel, and they just buy a lot of things. And she walks by one of the stores. And as she's walking by, she recognizes the clerk that was so rude to her and said, "Remember me from yesterday? See this? Big mistake."
Yeah. Yes. And Shep, can I add one thing on that? I guess, I think it's a more subjective thing to a degree. I think we're all right. But I think there is some point, you never want to assume, because we can get into other things on that. But I think that, as I'm sure you've also experienced as well, you get the small chamber, has no budget. We already know they don't. You can send them a mile away. So there's that as well. Yeah. They're coming in already. It's free. So just a caution. And again, Marcella's question, it depends on the angle. But I think there is some things, to your point, Shep, not making an assumption, not trying to just evaluate the Sheps of the world with the beat up Jeep. But, there's pricing is a strategy, is my point.
Yeah.
Strategy. So,
and I think it's important you recognize that, every one of them. So Carmen Shares, a camera install company, a couple of months ago asked me if I had good credit. I informed him maybe not right now since I am on mortgage forbearance, but I can pay. And he said no because their rates are high. Wow. He didn't even give me a price. He had no idea how much I had in savings. You know what? That's why, I want to, even if I know that the local chamber that usually doesn't have my fee, I still want to give them value. And I mean, at some point we have to have the budget conversation and say, hey, let's talk about what you can afford. What type of speaker have you had in the past? What type of, whatever it is. And you talk to me. One of the things we love to say is we have something for virtually every budget. When somebody says, what do you mean? I say, well, you go onto YouTube, you get it for free. And so seriously, or you can hire me to do it in person, and then you could buy a book. That's $20. You can buy a video. You can do, we can go all the way up. But what I love, I had a client who could not afford my speech. And I said, well, I've got an idea for you. I took her to 3 videos that were perfect for her. And she had a budget. And I said, what if I did a video and I set up the point, we played this video, and then a little later on in the meeting, I say, hey, I'm back to talk to you again about this. We played that video. And she goes, that's brilliant. And we hit the budget, and it was fun to do. Anyway, I know we're getting way off topic here. I'm going to bet Ramon has another question.
I do have another question. James, as you're working with companies, can you break us through, and I know you had years of experience as Shep does, what's that biggest thing that you wish, Ramon? I wish I could say this all the time to everybody. I wish I could tape it to my forehead. I wish they would either stop doing this or start doing this beyond what you've already shared with us. What's that gem that you just wish that you say all the time, in whichever accent, British or American English, doesn't matter. What's that thing?
Focus on successful customer outcomes. Understand who your customers are, realize what their successful customer outcome is, and then align everything you do towards the delivery of that successful outcome.
That's powerful.
Powerful. All right.
Many people don't focus.
Now, I know we have a 5th and final point, but hey, Stacy Sherman, you're the best. I love Stacy. Stacy, I owe you a call. We'll talk soon. I heard from your client. They called, didn't leave a message or a phone number. We got to talk about that. But So before we get into number 5, let's remind everybody, can you give us a quick rundown on some of the talent that is going to be at our Customer Amazement Summit, September 15th at
Absolutely.
4 o'clock Eastern.
Indeed, September 15th, Customer Amazement Summit, customeramazementsummit.com. We have a number of speakers, a handful. Looks to me, Shep, like about 10 or give or take. Just a few I'll call out. James is already here. Lori Guest, many of you know her, heard her speak. She's one of the queens, the kings of customer service. We got Simon T. Bailey. Simon T. Bailey will take your socks off the chain and put them back on again. Simon T. Bailey is going to be absolutely fantastic.
And he's a Disney guy.
Yes, exactly. Yep. That's going to be powerful. And I'll just read some of the names just for respect of all. Rupesh Patel, some of you may know him. Jason Bradshaw, Scotty Werner. We had him on another Shep interview live with Shep, so you can check out Shep's LinkedIn if you want to get a preview of that. Dan Gingas, who Shep just previewed already. Becky, we talked about. Hilton lady, she's going to reveal some cool stuff. And Dennis Snow, amazing. And I think I got them all in. So me and Shep will be there leading and leading the discussion. And we guarantee, we promise you're going to have a good time. CustomerAmazementSummit.com, September 15th. Register right now and tell your friends, tell your family, tell your mother too. Go ahead, Shep.
Yep. All right. So the final question, and you've been doing such a good job. I'll let you ask it, even though I kind of already asked it. Number 5.
Number 5.
Yep. Very good. Very good. Did you hear an echo? Number 5.
Number 5.
Did it again.
Shall I just tell you? Is that, or am I waiting for a specific?
This is James, number 5.
Okay. 5. Let teams rock.
Ooh.
So, after working with hundreds of high-performing teams all over the world, one of the things I quickly came to realize is the quickest way to get a team to rock is simply to let them rock. And luckily for us, let forms a handy-dandy little acronym that you can remember. Listen, empower, trust.
Wow.
So listen to their ideas, empower them to act on them, and trust that they will do the best by the customer and the business. There you go. That's the longest. That's all you need to know about that one.
Yeah, very good. Very good. So just kind of a recap. Number 1 is the first impression.
Yes.
Number 2 is clear. Be clear.
Number 2 is create super fans.
Oh, super fans. Create super fans. And start with your employees loving your fans so that the fans will love you even more. Number 3 is to be clear. You pterodactyl beaver, you.
Carmen.
Hey, Carmen. And number 4.
Number 4 is, yeah, you've confused me now. So we've done make it clear. Number 4 is
whatever it was amazing.
Make it right. Make it right.
Make it right. Yeah. And number 5, let it be. Let it be.
Let teams rock.
Listen and
empower.
And
trust. Obviously, it's super memorable.
Yes, all of them are. I was setting you up. I could have said it myself, but it wouldn't be nearly as good unless it came from the expert.
I'll ruin that. Sorry.
Do we have any other questions from the audience? Let's take a moment to answer a couple of questions if they're there, and if not, by golly, this was really a great conversation, and I love the energy. And if you love the banter Ramon and I are having in between every speaker, we're going to have similar banter, and we're going to have fun at the Customer Amazement Summit, September 15th.
And Shep, to add to that as well, listen, if you have questions, this is not over. This is a preview. So many of you may have people, hey, listen, I've always had a question. I've always wanted to pick Shep's brain. Well, this is the time to do it. I've always wanted to do that, things like that. So our banter, our discussion, but also ask your questions. We have a segment built in there. I'm not going to tell you what time it is. Live with Shep. So the whole time you can ask Shep questions. But
we've got live with Shep. And look at this, Siv. You know what? At such a young age, she's learning so much.
Thank you, Siv Priscilla. Appreciate that. Listen, empower. Wise mono. Please, more tips on how to make your customers much more satisfied than your competitor does. That's a great point.
Hey, let's do that. That's a great, it's kind of not a question. It's so open-ended, but hey, I've got an idea. This is a great way to wrap this up. Let's each share a tip that would make our customers love us more than the competition. And I know, Ramon, customer service is not necessarily your whole thing, but you work with so many businesses on being successful. Let's start with you.
Sure.
We'll go from left to right or right to left, depending upon which way you're looking at things.
Love it. My one tip is that to the person who posted it, I wouldn't worry so much about that as my big tip, because I would bet that for most of us, most of our customers, or most of our competitors are average and don't give a darn about it. So if you just do a bit more than you're doing now, I think you'll be fine, in my humble opinion. James, I'm going to tag you.
It kind of goes back to the thing I said before: focus on outcomes, focus on successful customer outcomes, understand what that overarching successful outcome is, then understand the needs that need to be delivered, and then create the experiences that deliver that. Work backwards. Too many companies look at what they're doing right now and try and improve it and then cram it out into the world, turn that on its head, work backwards. Understand your customers, understand the successful outcome, understand the needs, and build the experiences that will deliver that.
Boom.
All right, very good. Tag me.
Shep, I'm tagging you.
Yeah,
Which way is it, that side?
thanks. I think if you are more convenient, just be more convenient, be easy to do business with. If you take a look at the companies you love to do business with, I'll bet that somewhere in there you'll say, you know what, they're just easy. And they create very little friction. And I can go into all of this. Oh, and Stacy has a good point we'll bring up in just a moment. So let's leave this up there for a moment. But if you can be convenient, easy, whether it be some piece of technology that makes it easier, a self-service solution, you're more accessible because your hours of operation are longer sometimes than your competition. But if that's your goal, is to be better than your competition, get your customers to love you more than your competitors, figure out a way to be easier. Our friend Stacy Sherman says peace of mind calls, which, by the way, she wrote a wonderful article about the peace of mind calls. So where they are proactively calling customers and saying, hey, we are here for you. And she means it. She actually runs the support and does marketing and all types of things for a great company that, aside from being one of us in the thought leadership world of customer service and experience, she's in the trenches doing it day in and day out. So she gets it. The peace of mind call is just, hey, I'm just calling to say we're here for you. So very good. That's going to make your competition, or that's going to make your customers love you more than your competition. Thank you, Stacy. Well, what do you think, Ramon? We wrap this thing up?
Shep, I think so. And I'll give one more reminder and turn it back over to you. But listen, September 15th, people have heard us say it. It's going to be an amazing event, 4 p.m. New York time, customeramazementsummit.com. I've been blessed and honored to partner and work with Shep, learn from him. We have amazing speakers like James and several others who've said, you know what, we want to help. We want to join Shep on this mission to help you all. So please share it, register. It's free. customeramazementsummit.com. We're so glad to see you and to join us live as me and Shep help you. Shep, back to you, man.
And I just want to say thanks, Ramon, for joining us. James, you know, I love you like a brother. You know that. And we appreciate you. Our friendship has grown over the last 3 years. And Ramon, you and I are becoming great friends too. My brother from another mother. And just really appreciate you guys doing this. I appreciate everybody that has joined us today. We thank you so much. If you want to keep the conversation going, there you go. Sib says, care more about your customer than your own convenience. Yes. So many times companies create these processes because it's more convenient for the company than it is for the customer. It needs to be flipped around. Anyway, good note to end on. So, hey, everybody, thanks for joining us. Stay safe, stay healthy. And remember to always be amazing and join us for the Customer Amazement Summit, September 15th. Love you all. Thanks.